where he would, like I guess a production. No, he wasn't really affiliated with them, but he put up the money for the thing and sold it to
Capitol.
How they do.
Yeah.
And so that's how we got the album.
Yeah. And so you guys had some success, I think it was with Glory, Glory, Hallelujah.
Right.
Yeah.
We with that, and that record later on went to become a hit with the Byrds, and then also Jesus Is Just All Right, which was later a hit with what was that group? Michael McDonald's group.
Oh, the Doobie Brothers?
The Doobie Brothers.
Okay, yeah.
Had a hit off of that. So when that album came out and was getting really good, it was getting really good airplay on the black, radio stations, the gospel shows, and so we got to do a show. We got to go. We got to do a show. I think it was in maybe Philadelphia or something, which was our first time of doing, going away, and it was even my first time flying on a plane.
Oh wow, yeah.
And some of the other members too, and so it was just a big. So I got that's when I thought, you know what, this is what I really do want to do for a living. And by this time I had been married. I was out of was out of school. I was married. I had a couple of kids.
Yeah.
And so I was working at a hospital, and I've worked at telephone company, and I worked did some work with the Head Start program and all these things, but my heart was really in the entertainment, and so I decided that that's what I really wanted to devote my time to.
So what made you decide to do the solo?
Because I felt that we had talent, and I thought we could be really, and I thought that we were getting the attention that we were getting, we could have some success at it.
Right.
However, and I did enjoy singing gospel music, but I don't know if the rest of the group had the same passion as I did.
Right.
And were willing to make the sacrifices as I was.
Traveling and all that.
They were little, but I had the most to lose because like I said, I had children, so I had to, I made a decision.
Yeah.
This is what I really gotta, I gotta really make money at it. I can't, I can't play around.
Yeah.
And so when I was offered a single recording deal,
right,
which I took,
and those were good.
I was booking myself in clubs around the Long Beach area, in the Norwalk area, and
so you cut.
And I met on one of my gigs that I was doing. I met Marc Gordon,
right,
who was the manager at the time of the Fifth Dimension.
Yeah.
And I was working at a club out here called the Factory. It's now Studio One, I think, but it used to be the Factory, and it was a private private disco, that allowed the movie stars would go to. And so on a particular night, I can't remember the night, maybe it was a Sunday night or something, so early Sunday evening, they would have a showcase there, which was entertaining for the members, and it was also a good outlet for, if you were a manager or agent or somebody that looking for talent, or you wanted to spotlight someone, then you would bring them there. So there's a singer by the name of Al Wilson,
right,
who Marc was managing, and Al Wilson happened to be on the show the same night as I.
Okay.
And so he...
The one that did Show and Tell?
Yes.
Okay.
And the Snake.
Right.
Yeah. And so Barry. So Marc came back to meet me, and asked if I was serious about being in the business. And so he became my manager.
Okay. So you did 2 singles for Capitol, right? Don't Cry My Soldier Boy and Baby Mine. And was that, he was in the picture at this point, or this was a little after that?
No, this was after.
Okay.
See, Marc came, I had no deal with by that time. When Marc came on this, when Marc and I got together,
for the
I think maybe the Capitol thing was maybe a one-shot deal. It was no long, I think. I don't really remember correctly. I don't really remember if I was with Capitol, how he got me out of it. I don't remember those details.
Okay, but it was something you...
The possibility that I was signed to them, and somehow I may have been able to be bought out of it or something, because...
So it wasn't a positive thing for you after the single?
I'm sorry?
So it was something you wanted to get out of, in other words. It wasn't something like they said, you're gone from the label. It was something you wanted to get out of.
Yeah, but right now, my memory is not very clear, because as a matter of fact, I had never even thought about it until you said it.
Well, I was just listening.
Because I probably was at that time, I probably would have signed with this one, and if it worked out, I'll go sign with somebody else.
Because I was just listening to Don't Cry My Soldier Boy, so that's why I was curious about it,
Yeah. So then, when I went with Marc, then Marc introduced me to Jimmy Webb.
Right.
And that's how the Sunshower album came about.
On Dunhill and everything, yeah.
Right.
So, with that deal, what happened with that? Do you remember? I mean, did you just decide to move on?
The album came about, and it got really great reviews. It was a great way for me to be introduced into, to my peers.
Right.
Unfortunately, the record was not a commercial success.
Right.
But it was certainly a creative.
Yeah, critical success.
And I got great reviews, and a lot of people know about that particular album.
Yeah, well, because it's going to be reissued on CD in Japan.
I do know.
Yeah, okay. And so you had also done, I think it was around that time, if I'm correct, some stuff with a group called Pressure Cooker, of I've Got the Music in Me.
No.
Okay.
No, that was not until I was at Motown.
Oh, you did it while you were at Motown. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I think you were also involved in a series, The Marty Feldman Comedy Machine, in the early 70s. Yeah.
I did lots of television.
Because you were doing
Campbell, Ed Sullivan, all
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you were pursuing acting as well, I guess, right?
Yes.
So how did that come about by accident, or was that something that you?
I didn't pursue the acting really until I went to Motown.
Okay.
And the way that happened is that I was on ABC Dunhill. We did the Sunshower album. And that wasn't a success because I think I was on a label that had the Mamas and the Papas, Steppenwolf, Three Dog Night.
Right. Just more rock
And it was totally different. I was, totally different. I was probably only myself and B.B. King, black people on the label.
Yeah.
And they had no idea of how to promote me.
Because
I wasn't a typical R&B singer. Or R&B, wasn't and at that time, a black person can't be pop. It's like, she's got to
So the fact that you were black and you had sort of a pop stylings in your repertoire,
was a
hindrance,
at that time.
Yeah.
And so then I did some more stuff. I did Save the Country, which was probably like the first, hit, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
And so how did you end up getting that deal with Motown and Mo West and all that?
Well, it was kind of a weird thing. I was working a lot in Las Vegas. And my manager had gotten very busy. He was, the 50 Million were really big.
Yeah.
He had another group at the Climax, I think was their name or something.
Oh, right, yeah.
They had a song called Precious and Few.
Yeah.
And he had, so he was very, very busy. And we didn't, and so unfortunately, as he was being very busy and all that, the relationship became, what's the word?
It just wasn't as consistent, his working with you.
As he had been more hands-on in the beginning.
Right.
And so, when I was in Motown, when I was at
Dunhill,
in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay.
Suzanne DePass and people from Motown, would come into the show and Motown just really started wooing me. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah.
And I got brought in by the wooing of the company, and also that Motown, everybody is on that.
Yeah.
This could be only fabulous for me.
Yeah.
Well, my attorney, said don't sign that contract. Didn't want me to sign the contract. My manager, Marc Gordon, said if you sign that contract, I can no longer work with you. It became it was like, okay, if I sign this, I really got to take responsibility, and it's going to be, So I, made probably more of an emotional choice.
Right.
not saying that I wouldn't have signed, but I probably would have had major changes made in the contract, probably.